Hello, everyone. Thank you for choosing this podcast, and welcome to the first episode of Silence on the Sidelines. My name is Elizabeth King, and I have been playing soccer for 16 years. I'm currently a high school senior, and I'm actively committed to play at Franklin and Marshall College next year for soccer. I pretty much grew up playing soccer, as you can imagine. My brothers played it, so it was natural that I would pick up the sport. Before I get into this podcast today, I want to tell you a little bit more about my journey, because honestly, it's something you can probably relate to. Now, as a soccer player, I've had my fair share of injuries over the years. Beginning at the age of 4, I started having chronic ankle sprains. But beginning high school, I started to have multiple concussions. Even my junior year, I had an LCL sprain, which is in your knee. Pretty much, you name it, I've experienced some form of it. For a while, I thought that was just part of being an athlete. More specifically, part of being a soccer player. You push through injuries, you suck it up, you play hurt. It's what everyone tells you to do. But nothing could have prepared me for what happened on October 24th, my senior night. What is supposed to be one of the most exciting nights of any high school athlete's season. A celebration of all of your hard work and dedication to your sport. I began the day feeling great about all that was coming for me. All of my hard work was going to be recognized. The people that I love and that have supported me for so long were going to be there and watch me play. The game started and I felt fine. I had warmed up properly, I had properly fueled my body, and I was ready. But in a few minutes into the game, an opponent stepped on my ankle. I was completing a pass just like one I'd done in every other game, pretty much. And when I was stepping down, or when I was following through with the pass, she caught my ankle and stepped on it. Now, in no way do I blame her at all. It's part of the game. It really is, and accidents happen. And truthfully, she wouldn't know I was hurt because of my reaction. I immediately felt this intense, sharp pain shoot up my leg, but I didn't react. I tried to shake it off. I knew that I was not going to let this injury stop me, and I told myself that it was likely just a sprain. I've had 8 at this point, so what's one more? It's fine. This is the kind of thing that happens when you play a sport like soccer, especially in my position as a center back. We put our bodies on the line for our sport. Well, I kept going. I kept running. Deep down, I had one of those feelings that you just can't ignore. If you've experienced an injury that's pretty severe, you know that feeling. Just the moment that you realize something is seriously wrong. The pain was truly unbearable, but I would tell my teammates that I was fine and that I had to keep going and that I wanted us to be in the best position possible to win, to keep going. So I kept going. This injury happened in the first couple minutes, like I said, and while maybe it would have made sense for me to finish the first half, I decided to play the entire 90. Looking back now, I cannot believe that I did that, but at the time, I couldn't stop myself. There were so many people that were there for me and that were supporting me, and I didn't want to let anyone down. My teammates, my coach, my family and friends, and myself. I thought if I just kept playing, I could push through and ignore what had happened. But when the game ended, I took off my cleats, getting ready for my senior celebration and my senior night banquet, and I saw my ankle. It was massive, almost about the size of a softball for a visual. Anyone, if that happens to you, you should get help. You should talk to a trainer, which, by the way, we have a trainer. But instead of getting help, instead of getting the help that I needed in that moment, I pushed it down, and I didn't want to make a big deal out of it. I stayed for the entire senior banquet, not wanting to admit how much pain I really was in. It wasn't until later when I showed my grandmother, who, by the way, was a former orthopedic therapist and dealt with a lot of injuries. I showed her my ankle, and I started to realize how bad it really was. Just a sort of funny interaction. She sort of laughed when I originally told her that I needed to go to a doctor. Because, I understand, I just played 90 minutes, right? And not to brag at all, we had done really well. There was no way that anyone would have known how much pain I truly was in. And then I showed her it, and she took one look and said, "You need to go to a doctor." Of course, because it was our senior night or whatever, at that point it was pretty late, so we just made the decision to see an urgent care the next day. And I told my coach that I would have to miss about a couple weeks of practice because they told me that it was a sprain. More specifically, they said if it were broken, there's no way I would have played on it, right? But while I was sitting there on the sidelines watching my team play, I knew deep down that something wasn't right. I think athletes a lot of times are really in tune with their body. They know when something is wrong. Now, whether or not we listen to our bodies, that's pretty much the basis of this podcast, right? But I do think we know our bodies. And in that moment, I knew something wasn't right. The next week, I ended up getting an appointment with an orthopedic surgeon. And at the very start of it, he started to do the classic mobility tests and was just pushing down and testing the strength of my ankle. And one of the first things he questioned was just, "You played on this?" And I didn't even have to think when I responded. I just said, yeah, I had to. It was my senior night, right? I almost implied that it was obvious that I would play. There was no other option. He immediately ordered, of course, an MRI, an X-ray, and pretty much everything, right? And the results came back, and I had torn the ligaments in my ankle. I had a broken fibula, and I had damaged cartilage in my foot caused by an osteochondral defect. That broken fibula, by the way, had happened a couple years prior, and we didn't know. I never reported it. I never went to a doctor or anything like that. But it did not heal properly. And it was still broken. With these results, surgery was the only option. My doctor said I would likely be out of my sport for 6 months. 6 months as a committed fall athlete. To say I was crushed is honestly an understatement. I felt like I was losing everything. I refused to believe it, and I even went to another doctor for a second opinion, hoping that maybe something would be different. Maybe my first doctor misinterpreted something, or maybe there's just any other way. And I even tried physical therapy for a month, hoping it would help, but reality set in, and surgery was my only choice. I'm now sitting here 4 months post-op, no boot, no brace. On the outside, all good, but I am at the start of a very long road to recovery. The pain is still there, even if it's different. This injury isn't just physical, it's absolutely mental too. And that's a big part of what I want to talk about today, because what happened to me wasn't an isolated incident. It's a part of a really large problem. The culture in youth sports, especially competitive sports like soccer, encourage athletes to push through pain, to ignore injuries, to keep going at all costs. We're taught that being tough means playing through injuries, sacrificing our bodies. And when we do, we are the ones that pay the price, mentally and physically. Now, if you yourself identify as an athlete, I want you to think about something for a second. How many times or how many moments have you played through an injury just because you didn't want to let your team down or played through pain? How many of you have stayed on the field, on the court, or whatever because you were maybe scared of losing your spot, losing your chance, losing your credibility? I mean, I know that I did it for years. I've played through injuries that if I had gotten and stopped to receive the right care, they probably wouldn't have been so bad. But instead, I kept going and told myself that pain was just part of the game. I told myself that everyone else was doing it, so it couldn't be that bad, right? I was just being tough. But from my position now, I know that I wasn't being tough, that I was being reckless. In the end, it cost me. The guilt I felt about missing out on my senior season, the pressure I put on myself to keep playing, all took a toll. And now I'm grateful to know that I'm not alone. The reality is that we need to start talking about this. We need to have real conversations about why athletes are ignoring their injuries, why it's so ingrained in our sports culture. We need to talk about the pressure we face from coaches, from parents, from teammates, and frankly, in my case, from ourselves. With this podcast, I hope to give that conversation a voice. By sharing stories from athletes like me and from others who have faced similar struggles, we are able to break the silence that surrounds injury and pain in youth sports. We can't keep pretending that pushing through injuries is just part of the game. And we can't keep telling ourselves that it's normal to be in pain all the time. This isn't just about me. It's about our future generation of athletes. It's about all of us. It's about creating a safer, healthier environment for athletes. It's about making sure that kids don't feel like they have to sacrifice their bodies or their mental health for the game. I'm asking you to listen, to think, and to reflect on your own experiences. And I'm asking for everyone, athletes, coaches, parents, to join me in starting this conversation. It's time that athletes put their health first. Welcome to Silence on the Sidelines. Let's break this silence together.